Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Ted.
Papo!
This is the Wrestling Exchange. There's a couple things that I want to get out of the way real quick. We're new to this YouTube thing. I mean, obviously new and not new in the sense of we've never heard of it before, but new in the sense that this is a relatively new thing. So please, if you like what we're doing, like, comment, subscribe. It'd all be great. Really appreciate it. We're going to start today with NXT TakeOver. And Papo, you haven't seen this week's episode of NXT, but have you watched it at all?
I've seen past NXT where felt like it was a reality show, and let me tell you, I despise reality TV, but I am a hardcore wrestling fan. So I will jump on the WWE Network and view NXT.
That's cool. It's not like the previous NXT. It's like an hour-long version, and it's the equivalent of having like a minor league. And in my opinion, like on the content that they have on that show, it really does compete. It even actually, in my opinion, competes with Raw. Because I mean, Raw, you got a 3-hour show. NXT is 1 hour, but there's just as much good stuff, if not even better, on NXT. So rolling right into NXT. For those of you who don't know, this is the first tape show after NXT TakeOver, which was their kind of pay-per-view-esque show. And there's a couple of things. They got this guy, Tyler Breeze. So imagine Shawn Michaels really early with the Mirror. Remember when he was with Sherry?
Heartbreak Kid.
Yes. Okay. So like at the very beginning is the Heartbreak Kid. Imagine that and kind of roll that into the model Rick Martel and kind of a little bit of the narcissist Lex Luger. And you get this guy who kind of looks and wrestles like a young Shawn. He's very, very talented. He's on there. Just a few notes briefly. We had Mojo Rawley, who is kind of like this new version of the Ultimate Warrior. So basically, he runs around. His thing is he doesn't get hyped. He stays hyped. And he does this move where he jumps and puts his ass in people's faces and then does the earthquake splash when the guy would jump down on the chest and then like sit on the guy's chest as he lands. He beat this guy, Aiden English. Aiden sings to the ring. It's very annoying. Like it's all quiet, like it's a cappella, and he does this Broadway shit as he sings to the ring. We're just kind of moving along. They're introducing a lot of young guys. There's also going to be guys moving up here. Like soon, we're going to start to see Sami Zayn and some other guys in the main show. So not a whole lot happened right now. We got this guy, Adrian Neville. He's the champion. He does this shooting star press corkscrew shooting star press. It's really impressive. But yeah, no, it's all around. It's a lot of fun wrestling in 60 minutes or less. If you got the network, no ads, so that's cool. But rolling on over into SmackDown, we got an opening segment where basically Dolph Ziggler essentially goaded Rollins into a match, which, you know what, let's start with that. Let's start with the Shield, right? What do you think about what they're doing with Seth Rollins now?
They're grooming him for singles competition. As of right now, Seth has one of the nastiest finishers in the WWE.
Oh, isn't that thing incredible?
It is incredible. And let me tell you that even though they still have remnants of the Shield, they're going to groom him for singles competition. And I said it last episode, Reigns is for heavyweight champion. He cocks that fist, and he does a super punch, and you're knocked out. Without a doubt.
Oh, yeah. They're all definitely going to be groomed for singles competition. It's interesting because in a few minutes we're going to get into the Raw review, but on SmackDown they were kind of playing this thing where they were going to reveal to you they were going to reveal what his motivations were, and he basically told everybody that it was just for him and him alone to know. So they obviously saved that for Raw. But a couple of things happened here. We had the Usos wrestle Ryback. Um, I love Ryback, and I love the Usos, and it kind of feels almost as if I were to take the tag titles off of anybody now and put them on anyone else, it would be Ryback. What do you think about them as a team?
Well, when you hear the chants Goldberg, Goldberg, it, right, was it Ryback fits the description.
Do you think it's a fair comparison?
No, not really.
I agree
Because
with you.
he's trying to make a name for himself. And let me just tell you, in singles competition, I was actually liking him more. But now that he's with Axel, I'm just not really feeling that. I mean, because he has that tenacity.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like they kind of missed the boat on the whole thing, because here you had was it 2012 going into 2013 the Feed Me More chance. It was crazy, and people were into it. Like, and he what was it, Royal Rumble, where it came down to at one point him and Cena, and I was not. In fact, yeah, that was the year that the main event went on before the Rumble, and I think the Punk lost to The Rock on that match, so it was kind of like you knew who was going to win the Rumble at that point,
Yeah.
since Rock won. But when they did it, he was like so massively over. Like he was the perfect definition of a tweener, right? He was a good guy, but like he was kind of big and badass and scary looking, so you could easily see him as a bad guy. But it didn't really matter, because for Ryback it was just feed me more, bring me some competition. And then they had this awesome thing going, but WWE is so afraid of good guy versus good guy that I think they panicked and turned him heel, and that kind of ruined all his momentum. But then we got to see Bully Ryback, which was one of my favorite incarnations of the Ryback, where he would just be backstage just pushing people around, dropping their food on them, just being a straight-up bully.
Yeah, at one point he was an excellent anti-hero, where he came in and he was just straight competition, but he just pulverized his opponents. I mean,
Yeah,
he was on the road to becoming a good champion. I wouldn't say world heavyweight champion at this point, but he would be a good heel for the heavyweight champion, like he did with Cena. Where were you? Why didn't you have my back? I had your back, but why didn't you have mine?
yeah, and I like that, and I didn't like it at the same time. Like, you watch that, and you kind of think back to a time in wrestling where it was super kayfabe, but you had all the good guys would always hang out with each other and help each other, and the same thing with all the bad guys. So I liked that it kind of played on that, but I didn't like it in the sense because he almost came across as too whiny. Like, oh, where's John Cena to help me? Although John Cena is around to help pretty much anybody and everybody. But what do you think about the teaming with Curtis Axel? First of all, what do you think of the name Curtis Axel? And we'll go from there.
Curtis Axel, I mean, second generation wrestler, son to Mr. Perfect.
I actually know third. Got to figure too, because Mr.
Oh yeah,
Perfect's
that's right.
dad. Yeah,
I That's an error on my part. I apologize to my fans.
it's all
But
right. It happens.
yeah, but he's slowly making a name for himself. I mean, I love the fact when he came out with Paul Heyman, and they were pushing him, trying to at least. I mean, as of right now, he's kind of stagnant. But I mean, with him, with Ryback, they should be able to at least grab tag team gold.
Yeah, yeah, and I think they're a perfect tag team. It's it's funny because like I remember when they brought him in, they were Heyman basically made a big deal of how we're going to rename this guy, and it kind of always struck me as funny where the guy's the son of Mr. Perfect. He's the grandson of Larry the Axe Hennig. So his name is Joe Hennig. So let's call him Michael McGillicuddy. And I wouldn't have a problem with that because in that sense the argument is, well, the guy doesn't want to live in his family's shadow, which would be fine if that was the reason for WWE's decision. But then you have Ted DiBiase Jr., you've got Cody Rhodes, you've got who else? Gold Dust, and they just openly acknowledge it. So it's kind of weird, and we'll get into Gold Dust later on. I have some interesting thoughts on that. But it is kind of weird. As a team, though, I dig them. It's kind of like they're the tribe of lost Paul Heyman guys, but they're like slowly getting together. I like them as a unit. I think that they're great. It kind of comes across like Ryback's the muscle, and Axel's kind of the idiot.
Yeah.
And not an offensive to him, but like in a lovable idiot character. Like when he says certain things, like psh, yeah, like a kind of guy where if you said to me like, yeah, your mom, you know, I totally see that every time I see him, and it just makes me warm inside. I love it. So the Usos beat Ryback for a clean win. How much longer do you think the Usos are going to hold their belts?
Well, let me tell you, the Usos are a major draw, hands down. They get the crowd pumped up. They get the ooh, and you hear the so. For real, no doubt. I mean, that's what WWE loves. I mean, you can see it in the past. Attitude Era. Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody.
Hell yeah. It's audience participation, I think, is the key, right?
And with the Usos now, they have a nasty run, and I don't see. I mean, Ryback was the only one that I can see taking that gold from them, but they would have to use their power against them. But the Usos are just fast, and they got that Samoan-ish working for them.
And it's funny too, because the one thing that kind of upset me is that when the Rhodes Brothers were tag team champions, we never got Rhodes Brothers versus Usos for the tag titles. That was the match that I wanted to see.
Oh yes.
But instead, we got the titles put on the Outlaws, who, ironically enough, never got their contractually obligated rematch. Right? You win the titles, you lose the titles, you get a rematch. Never happened with them, which I'm happy for, but yet I'm not happy for. It's kind of mixed emotions. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that Ryback would be the perfect team to take it off of him. And yeah, I'm looking forward to a Ryback face turn. We got Lana Promo, Jesus, God almighty. A Lana promo. Or Lana, I typed it wrong. So she's the ravishing Russian, and I find her absolutely delicious, as I'm sure most of our viewers do. It's funny, I think I touched on this last time. You notice how the racist Rusev always, with the exception of Zack Ryder, has matches with black guys and then squashes them pretty effectively?
Oh, yes.
So he basically gets a match with Xavier Woods, who I don't know, I don't get it. I think he has a great look. He's very athletic, but like he's one of those guys that I watch, and there are certain guys that you know this guy's going to be a star, or this guy's going to have a hell of a career, or this guy's a world champion. I don't see anything with this guy, and it almost seems like they keep him around to tell everybody that he has a doctorate's degree or PhD or working on his PhD. But so he was fed to Rusev, and the funny thing is, Papo, you've seen the Rocky movies, right?
Yes, I did.
Have you seen all of the Rocky movies?
All of them.
All right. If you had to rank, well, let's put it this way. What's your favorite Rocky movie?
Rocky V.
Rocky V? Okay.
Yes.
My favorite, it's actually a tie between Rocky III and Rocky IV. I'm a big fan of Rocky IV, and of course, that's, for those of you who don't know, Rocky IV is the movie where Apollo Creed gets beaten to death in the boxing ring with my man Ivan Drago, and the whole thing is that Apollo Creed comes to the ring in very patriotic red, white, blue, just over the top, flashy gear, right?
Living in America.
Ha! Yeah, man, it's great. Oh, nostalgia bomb just went off in my mind. But so they did that in the movie, and Apollo Creed gets beat to death. And my notes are hilariously ironic because I paused the video and I was like, oh, well, we're going to feed Apollo Creed to Ivan Drago. And that's exactly what happened. If you have a minute, go back and watch that episode. He literally gets fed to the Rusev, who just proceeds to beat him to death. I was waiting for Rocky to throw in the towel. It was everything that Rocky IV was without being any more emotionally effective. So yeah, he pretty much gets beats to death. Question: we talked about this last time about the camel clutch, right?
Yeah.
Hear me out. What if Rusev used a camel clutch, but, and I'm sure there's a word for this, and someone's probably going to say something, and let us know. And if you do know the word for it, let us know in the comments. If he did a double underhook camel clutch, so he has the guy in the camel clutch, he's sitting on the lower part of his back, but instead of having the guy's arms over his knees, cinch up from behind and do the double underhook and kind of lean back. I think that would be pretty cool without biting on Sheiky Baby shit. What do you think?
The full Nelson clutch.
I like it.
I've seen it. Not on any wrestling, but actually backyard wrestling. It made me cringe that I loved it so much.
That's crazy. Like I'm just now. I thought what I thought was cool, right? So I thought like, oh, double underhook, that's. But when you really think about the logistics of a full Nelson camel clutch, you're pretty much gonna kill the guy. Although that would be an awesome move, and even better if they would do the spot where they kind of do the tiger suplex, like they have him in the full Nelson, and they do the belly to back and then with the bridge.
Yes.
That would be such a cool image. But moving on, I really don't care about Rusev. I love Lana. I love the dynamic with Rusev and Lana. Rusev and Lana. But not so much Rusev on his own. I like them better as a unit. Have you noticed that we're having an influx of really good Bad News Barrett matches?
Yeah, they're bringing them in. Right now, I mean, again, he's a brawler. He's a nasty street brawler, and he can go. I'll give it to Barrett. The guy can go, and he has decent in-ring skills. They need to bring him up against heavier competition.
Yeah. There's really not much here with that match. It was with RVD. I'm actually starting to like this kind of new, I'm only going to do 3 things RVD now. And it's actually starting to grow on me. It's still sad, I'm going to say it. It's not old RVD, but it's still good enough to get the job done. Do you like the fact that we have a guy like Rob Van Dam who does this part-time schedule where it's a few months on, a few months off, and he's able to get in the ring and mix it up with guys like Barrett and Cesaro? Do you think it's working to kind of elevate them to make them look even better?
Yes, it is. I mean, Van Dam, he's an excellent in-ring performer. He can sell everything. But again, I mean, from his RVD now, from what he was in ECW, they're 2 different people.
Yeah.
2 different people. I mean, back then, he had the dynamics to do all kinds of crazy shit. But now, I mean, he's just in there to put guys over. I mean,
It's like the difference between watching like Hulk Hogan in Japan versus Hulk Hogan in the States. Like you can see that now a 2014 RVD works similar but still very different than just from a few years ago. Like the only consistent spots I see from him are the jumping 180. Is it a 180? I don't know. The leg drop, where he jumps from the outside, spins, and does the leg drop. The guy's hanging on the barricade.
Yeah. Rolling Thunder.
I cringe at that move every time I see it. It looks like he just breaks the guy's chest. Is it just me, or does it look like he's killing everybody when he does that?
It looks like he's killing everybody when he does it, because he starts off with a roll, jumps off front flip, and lands on his back on top of the guy's chest, and you can see his bend. As soon as he hit, bah! His back bends, and it looks like he crashes his head into the mat. It's hilarious. I love it.
And I have the soft spot in my heart for Rob Van Dam, because if you notice, right, he sells moves that he does just as much as he would sell your move to him. So when he gives the 5-star frog splash, you always see him like kind of roll over and get that look like, damn, that took just as much out of him as it did the other guy. He's growing on me now because I realize this is a new Rob Van Dam, and it's kind of foolish of me to just now realize this, but it's hard to let go, especially when it was so good in the past. It's not bad now. It's just not. There's no Van Daminator, no Van Terminator, no any of that crazy shit. We got another appearance out of my boy, Bo Dallas. You're not a believer yet, are you?
Still not a believer yet.
It'll come. It'll come. I have faith. I believe. I believe. What do you think about Alicia Fox's tantrums as of late?
The last tantrum was hilarious. With the popcorn, she went out to the crowd, grabbed a drink, grabbed a popcorn, and she just actually felt bad for Paige. I mean, again, I don't think she's diva champion material, but she tried to at least help Alicia out, and then Alicia turned around, slapped her in the face, slammed her down, poured Coke and popcorn on her, and I couldn't do nothing but laugh. That shit was so funny.
She's too entertaining, right? So she's so entertaining that you want to like the champion more because they're the champion, but she's so entertaining with her meltdowns, and then when she's telling everybody silence and like trying to calm down, she's almost as important, if not more important, than the Divas champion just because of shit like that. Do you agree?
I agree wholeheartedly. The tantrums are hilarious. She takes off with everybody's hat. She said she's going to divorce JBL, which they're not even married. It's great. I mean, he even yelled, "I'm not even married to her."
Yeah, she's great. She's really entertaining. And again, I think the Divas have so much to offer, but if we continue to put them in, as if I work there, if the WWE continues to put them in like weird spots, and no one's gonna care, which is a shame because kind of like now is just because of how many women they have, it's probably the best women's division that they've ever had, given the fact that almost every female in that company can go.
Almost. But let me tell you, if we're going to talk about divas, I would prefer just the end of the Attitude Era with Trish Stratus and Lita. I mean, those two women, they went at each other. Because nowadays, I mean, we have Natalya, we have Paige, we have Alicia, and they're going. I'll give them that. They're actually working the crowd. They're working the mat. They're putting on nice clinics. But there's just just a bit of element that is missing. I mean, I believe it may be just the dynamic of them selling the hits or something, but it's just something that's off with me.
You know what it is? It's been so long since you've seen legit divas, and specifically legit divas treated well in the sense of match placement, in the sense of storyline placement. Like, what's weird here is that we have these weird right now with the WWE kind of multiple levels of kayfabe, right? So you've got the kayfabe, which is the regular TV programming. Then you've got Total Divas, which is its own little kayfabe weirdness, and not all of it carries over, and vice versa. But then you also have NXT, where, for example, Triple H is a heel everywhere he goes. But when he goes to NXT, there's this other kind of weird kayfabe where he's beloved there because this is his project, it's his baby. But like nobody boos him, even though they know that he's kind of like the general overall villain everywhere else. So it's kind of weird that they have these little universes. Not much really more to talk about SmackDown. I mean, that was really pretty much it. Let's go right to Raw. Daniel Bryan being stripped of the title. Thoughts?
Thoughts being that he's going up against the Big Red Machine. Used to be the Big Red Machine. Put a tie. You know what? He should come out with a mask and just a tie.
No clothes?
What? Obviously clothes, dude.
Should he have another mask on with a top that covered himself up? That would be the Big Red Machine.
He should come out. He should come out with a tie on, with his ensemble, a big red tie.
Just obnoxiously big, like big knot on the tie and everything.
I mean, I'm talking like obnoxiously fat. Come down like here, and have Daniel Bryan choke his ass with it.
Give him suspenders too. Just to add suspenders in there, because then he can get the one this way and the other that way, and then the tie. By the way, I came into a lot of things late. Like, I was a real big wrestling fan as a kid, but then there was periods where I didn't have TV, so there's long periods of wrestling I never saw that I've been going back and watching over the years. When the Nexus first happened, right, I kind of came in around near the end of it, but Daniel Bryan choking the hell out of Justin Roberts, that's one of the most... You can see why the TV sponsor was not cool with it. But goddamn, wasn't that just kick-ass looking? Like, he was literally killing him, right?
It was. He sold the hell out of that. And that was during Daniel Bryan didn't have the beard. That's when he wasn't Goat Boy.
Yeah, he wasn't even anything yet.
He was clean cut, but then yet he could still go. I mean, well, he was the first one to be eliminated from Nexus, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, because he came back and he fought on the Team WWE or whatever they called it. Because he was the first, I think, was it Cena that picked the team? And
yes.
Yeah, just early glimpses of how awesome Daniel Bryan was. Do you think it took them too long to strip him of the title? I kind of feel like that's a yes/no for me, but I'm curious as to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, they took too long. I mean, as soon as he had to go out for surgery, they should have stripped him at that point. As soon as they knew, they should have stripped him, and then now we have a tournament, which we both called that is in a process right now.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings on that because on the one hand, I understand why they didn't strip him right away, being that the whole, which by the way, I'm digging this new thing that they're doing. Well, not new, but this thing that's slowly becoming more and more of a big deal. These long story arcs, right? Because Daniel Bryan was 9 months, that whole story. I mean, it's long, sweeping story, as opposed to like, oh, we had a beef a few weeks ago, now we're going to the pay-per-view, you know?
Yes.
But we had that long build-up, and we finally get the payoff at WrestleMania, which would have been goofy shit if they did anything other than that. But But then he gets it, and you don't want to strip him of it right away because to the people, this is the guy who just got there, and it kind of makes sense in storyline to where he's like, I would give the belts up, but giving them up to you specifically would undo everything I've worked so hard to do. So I get that, but I'm kind of more of the opinion that once they knew he wasn't going to make that, because I'm old school. I got that 30-day mark, right? You got to defend the title every 30 days. If you're not defending it every 30 days, in my opinion, you got to drop it. I mean, are you with me on that?
I'm with you.
Yeah, that's kind of how, because that's kind of how wrestling's always been. I couldn't ever think of any other way to do it aside from stripping them. But they did finally strip him, which is cool because now we'll get to see a first with the Money in the Bank that it's actually for a title, not for a shot at the title.
Number one contenders match.
Yeah. So, yeah, essentially, yeah. Kind of like a number one contenders match with kind of like that hardcore championship rules where any place, any time. Which, the title's on the line, which is kind of a first for Money in the Bank, right? So I like that. But let's get into the people that we find in this match. We've got Randy Orton, Del Rio, Sheamus, Cesaro. I'm forgetting somebody.
Dude, I just brain farted.
I've been brain farting all day. Like, I made all these notes as I'm watching it, and I guess I just forgot that was important. So anyway, Money in the Bank match. If you could pick your own 6 to compete for Money in the Bank, who would you pick?
That's a good question. Please post your comments down below. For me, I'd put in Reigns. I'd put in Rollins. I'd put in Orton. I'd put in... I need 2 more. Let's see. I put in Big E. And just for entertainment purposes, Santino Morella.
Yeah. My list is a little different, right? So I've got Big Show because fucking why not? Let's just stick him in there, right? I mean, Big Show. I'm gonna put Kofi Kingston in there because God knows when there's cool shit to. You know what? This pisses me off. I feel like we got duped in the big mid-card black wrestler. And I'll explain, right? Just a few years ago, we had the gold standard. We had Shelton Benjamin, which if you haven't seen some of the early Money in the Bank matches, you need to go back and watch it. That guy was incredible. Fucking, we don't have Shelton Benjamin anymore. Can we fire the guy who let him go?
Yes. Shelton Benjamin could go, and he was dynamic. He was like the Black Van Damme.
Yeah.
I mean, he would do dynamic moves off the ropes, off the turnbuckle, and even the Money in the Bank match in which he was in, he was all over the place. He came out of nowhere, fast, quick, and with excellent moves. I mean, there was no pausing in his moves at all, and he sold everything.
And just a real true blue hardcore athlete, because that was when they started really bringing in professional level athletes into pro wrestling as just like, hey, maybe you can't play football forever, but you know what you can do? You can slap a headlock on a motherfucker and wrestle in your undies. So,
the dark side.
So my picks are Kofi Kingston, Big Show. I got to throw Randy Orton in there. I feel like because of the situation with Daniel Bryan and their history, that's just a given. Plus, it's Randy Orton. A lot of people hate Randy Orton. I think he's doing the best shit he's ever done. The exception of the Legend Killer stuff, which I'm just a big fan of. I like the new Randy Orton. I think it's fantastic. So what does that leave me with? That leaves me with 3 more to go. I had a good list in my mind too. Oh, Cesaro. Right, I would stick him in there. God knows. Imagine someone jumping off a ladder and he gives that European uppercut.
Oh man.
Or maybe the neutralizer off a ladder. Please. This would be incredible.
Wow.
So let's see. That leaves me with 2 picks. Big E would definitely be one of them. Oh, I remember my other one. Fandango.
What? Fandango?
All right.
Really? Explain, please.
All right. I have 3 words. Fandango is great. He is great. If you go back and watch, right, the whole reason why we don't like Fandango, the whole gimmick was they're introducing him. No, I won't wrestle until you say my name. I won't wrestle until you say my name. What? 5 months? 6 months? We were all waiting for his debut. He debuts at WrestleMania. I think people only have a bad taste in their mouth about Fandango because they had a questionable match with Jericho. And it's really only because of one thing. If you go back and watch this match and you just delete that from the match, you'd never feel the same way. It's the spot when Jericho went to do the lion salt, and Fandango was too close to the ropes, but Jericho was like, fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway, and it just looked horrible. But yeah, man, I would stick Fandango in there. Fandango can go. Plus the da-da-da-da-da.
That does get the crowd going.
It does, especially like a fun crowd. Like, I understand that, it's the Fandango-ing is over and Fandango himself isn't over. I got to say, he's great. And, that was the cool thing about the Money in the Bank matches, right? You would have guys like John Morrison, who's kind of has this oddly familiar-looking gimmick, but you had guys that were kind of lower-level guys that never really got their spot, but in those matches, they were the guys. Guys like Shelton Benjamin, guys like John Morrison, guys like even Mr. Anderson or Mr. Kennedy or Mr. I Wrestle where no one's ever going to see me wrestle. Yeah, and people that think I hate TNA, I know that I'm going to get some negative TNA comments. I would watch TNA if I had television. I don't have television, and there's some really good shit that comes out of TNA, but most of it just looks like second-rate bullshit. So I'm not just hating for the sake of hating. I love the guys there. I just wish that they would come to a better show. So, moving on from the Money in the Bank match, got a question for you. One of our qualifying matches here on this Raw, it's Bad News Barrett versus Sheamus, right? They're both champions, yes?
Yes.
So does it make sense to have 2 guys who are holding mid-card titles wrestle for a spot in a match that's going to be for a major title? Wouldn't it make sense to pick 2 guys who weren't already champions of some sort?
I understand what you're saying, but there's just something there between Sheamus and Barrett. I mean, that dates back before wrestling. That whole English versus Irish thing that does get the crowd pumping for some odd reason. I mean, they're born enemies.
Chemistry. They have really, really good chemistry.
Exactly. Bullseye. Bam.
But yeah, they have good chemistry, Cesaro and Sheamus. It's that European-born thing, right? Really good chemistry with each other. I feel the same way when it comes to the Royal Rumble. Like, I feel like if you have a singles title, you shouldn't be in the Royal Rumble. Like, you're already a champion. But that's just me. I'm a little weird. Chugging right along, I had this cool idea. And since it didn't pan out, I'm just going to bounce off the idea anyway, because why not? Imagine if the 2 guys that are holding mid-card titles, Sheamus and Barrett, go into the qualifying match. Remember WrestleMania 4? Was it where they did the tournament, right? Macho Man won.
Okay.
When they did the tournament, one of the first rounds of it was either the first round or the second round of the tournament. It was Hogan and Andre, and they double. I think it was a double count out or something like that. And it got me thinking, because back then it gave the other guy like a bye in the tournament, and he could. Oh, that's right. It gave the $1 Million Man a bye, so he didn't have to actually wrestle until the last 2 matches. But I kind of have this weird idea that if you have 2 guys who are both holding titles, which I would like for them to win the match, but it kind of takes me out of it because I'm like, these guys already have titles. If you had, well, let's just rephrase it. If you had two guys in the match, right, to qualify for the spot, you've got all other 5 spots ready to go. These two guys get a double count out. Does that bring in the opportunity for a mystery contender in the match? Would that be a cool thing? That's what I think.
Yes, I do. I think that's pretty cool. I mean, and that's a nasty story arc right there. At least for the title. I mean, it'll give it some spice to a right now stagnant title.
You know what I would do? I would save the surprise entrant for the pay-per-view, and then I would let everybody come out first, so it's the last guy. I'd get whoever it is, right? It doesn't really matter. I'd pay them to wear a hoodie, and I'd have them play Punk's music and have them walk out, doing his back to the crowd, and then he turns around, instant heat. Instant heat. It'll be great. Because then the whole crowd's like, oh, there's a mystery guy. Who's the mystery guy going to be? And then come to the pay-per-view. We're not going to announce it till the pay-per-view. And then you're like, holy shit, it's Punk. Motherfucker, who is this guy? I would like it. I don't know about everybody else. I would like it. Comment below.
Down below. Make sure you comment.
Way down below. We're talking not too far down below, but below enough. Wyatt family promo. Do you like the idea of the 2 members of the Wyatts kind of breaking up a little bit from the rest of the group, focusing more on tag titles? What do you think about that?
Yeah. On that note, they're better off as a unit of 3 than a unit of 2. Sheep Boy, I mean, he can go, but he's still very sloppy, kind of wet behind the ears. I'm not seeing anything that I really like when he's in the ring. But what's your man's name?
Luke Harper.
Luke Harper. I mean, he's got that look in his eye that he wants to intimidate you. He wants to hurt you. He would do better in the singles match. And
yeah.
When you mentioned before about that move, that torture rack, it looked like it finishes with like a reverse diamond cutter.
Yeah, it was really weird. But he's amazing, especially when he has that kind of far off stare, and he looks into the camera. It's almost as if he's looking through you, and he's like, yeah. And then my favorite, I'm just gonna go off on a tangent here for a second. I love Luke Harper. I think he's amazing. I think big time star, world champion someday. He's just anybody who's however fucking big he is can do the suicide tope through the middle ropes. He's got my vote. Got my vote. And he has a nasty fucking boot to the face. But I dig this thing he does. I think he calls it the gator roll. It's kind of like a front face lock where he hooks the other arm underneath and then just does this roll, kind of like as a rest hold. I don't know why. I just mark out for it. I think it's the coolest.
Yeah, he's definitely singles match material. I mean, tag team is just going to hold him back. But again, he still has to be with that click. He's got to with the 3. I believe they have Shield status or X-Shield status where they can actually watch.
Too soon. Too soon.
It was. But I mean, again, them 3 together, they're good to go.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think once they split up, though, everybody's going to have a job except for Sheep Guy. Eric Rowan. I don't get it. I don't see it. He's just big guy number 12. And that's no offense to him, but that's just kind of how he's presented. And until I see something different, that's just my opinion. So we got the Wyatt family. We had Bray Wyatt talking about being reborn and stuff like that. And then we got a hint of maybe or maybe not continuing the feud. Do you want to see the Wyatts continue the feud with John Cena, Bray single, and then the other Wyatts with the Usos? What do you think?
Well, we talked about the Usos earlier, and thinking about it, I mean, without Sheep Boy, Harper and Wyatt, they can go ahead and they can take those belts, without a doubt.
it would make a very impressive statement too, because especially if those guys, I dig heel champions. I love it. I think every bad guy should hold every title, so that way the good guys can kick their ass and get the title, and we get a feel-good moment. I think they're phenomenal, but yeah, I see no future for the other guy. But I think as a tag team right now, they're solid. They're solid. They have a nice little weird, creepy dynamic. We had something that I've been praying for, and I'm kind of sad it happened. 3MB calls out the Shield. Is there any alternative universe where we could have had a 3MB Shield feud instead, without the Shield just completely decimating 3MB? Could that have ever happened?
No. 3MB's just a bunch of jabronis.
No, don't say it, man. Don't say it.
They're a bunch of jabronis. I mean, it's to the point where, I mean, people go up and I'm not watching this match. I'm going to go take a piss.
I would go out of my way to watch a three-man band match. I love it. I love it. Hey, listen, Brooklyn Brawler was never in a band. Okay, so I don't think they're jabronis. I just think they just don't win.
Thus, the meaning of jabronis.
Oh, it just hurts. I don't want to hear it. I'm in denial. I'm not going to listen to it. Yeah, the Shield, just with two guys destroyed 3MB. It's kind of sad because there's even if you just went straight down to numbers, assuming everyone's just as talented, the Shield still rocked 3MB. We got to see Damien Sandow in a unitard. How do we feel about this?
Stop, please. I'm trying to delete that from my memory banks. This guy, I mean, supposedly the genius reincarnate. Please, I mean, he is a buffoon to me. He is a straight buffoon in a leotard. Come on, man. I mean, I prefer him come out with a cap and gown like the genius did back in the 80s and insult everybody, but to come out here in a leotard and dance and team up with Fandango, I was like, no, please. Go back to singles match, pick a fight with Cody Rhodes, do something.
You know what's sad is that I'm actually going to have to disagree with you on that. I love Damien Sandow, right? I think he's super cool. I don't know. I think it's because that he must have had this mindset that was like, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to go out there, I'm going to wear this shit, I'm going to twirl my little ribbon, and I'm going to get over. And he went out there, and he got over. And to the point where, what are we going to do with this guy? We got to have something for him. He was great all the way up until Feud Poison, which anybody who wants to have a good feud, don't feud with John Cena. And that's not me hating on John Cena, but just historically, most guys that feud with Cena just fizzle out. A one-arm Cena beat him, and it's just kind of been downhill from here. I really wanted the Damien Sandow heavyweight run, title run, but you didn't enjoy him teaming up with Fango. You didn't enjoy just the idea of those two guys teaming up.
Well, maybe if they would have teamed up without the leotard and he just had his regular wrestling gear on, maybe I would have been able to sit through that match without having to go have a cigarette. But I saw that leotard. I do not want to. No.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. It must be in my mind because I could tell he was so committed to just doing it because he was into it. He was just totally with it. And for some weird reason, I liked it. And I'm not wrong. The crowd chanted for it. So we'll see how that goes. I hope this isn't a weekly thing, though. Can we agree on that?
And we can agree on that.
All right.
Because I foresee Sandow going through a complete schizo character movement moving forward.
I don't care what he does. I'm going to go on record here. I don't care what Sandow does so long as he stays on my TV. That's all I care about. Don't give him the Zack Ryder treatment. I want to see him every week. Even if it's embarrassing, that means they have something for him.
And he's not ashamed of it either, so let's just see what happens.
Let's. So we had, obviously the Usos win that match. We had Paul Heyman, the one, let me see if I get this right, the one behind the one in 21 in 1. The voice of the voiceless, the advocate for the Beast Incarnate, Brock Lesnar. I don't know about you, but I watched this segment on Raw, and he's kind of... Is he not a master on the microphone?
He's come. I mean, he's been in wrestling longer than you've been alive. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, let's see.
I mean, he has pictures of himself with wrestlers from AWA.
You know, that's right. He was a ring photographer. I think he worked for the Pro Wrestling Illustrated with Bill Apter, right?
I believe so.
Pictures of the matches. But just the fact that he was able to get a Minnesota crowd into the idea of Brock Lesnar actually leaving his cave or barn to actually go be with other human beings, which I knew was not going to happen. I'm like, Brock Lesnar isn't coming. He's busy killing bears with his toes. And it's funny how much, even when you know that, hey, this is pro wrestling, I know that there are certain limits, there are certain things that will and won't happen. Even with that being said, when he goes out there and he literally convinces these people that Brock is going to show up, and he's like, instead, King of Swing, Cesaro. Do you like the new Vince McMahon Cesaro strut thing? How do you feel about that?
Honestly, I really haven't noticed the strut. I mean, the whole Paul Heyman thing has totally changed him. Because I did notice now that you had brought it up that Heyman is basically coaching him in the ring.
Yeah. And just as I think I just had another brain fart. Just as, can you expand on your point for a second while I remember what I was doing?
Well, with Cesaro, I mean, when he went in there by himself, he just wrecked house. I mean, he just pure power. The strongest pound-for-pound wrestler in the WWE today. But then now that Paul Heyman is coaching him, it's like, even though he's coaching him, it seems like Paul Heyman's like holding him back for someone. It just I got that feeling that he's being held back. He's not. They need to let the beast free, release the beast, and let him do his thing. Because he, honestly, the way he was going off the top of the dome, he's taking out all types of wrestlers, putting people in a big swing. But then it's like he's being held back by Paul Heyman. That's my opinion.
Question. What is the difference between Ryback and Curtis Axel being Paul Heyman guys? Why did that fail, and yet we're seeing success with Cesaro? Why do you think that is?
But who's to say they're still not Paul Heyman's men? That he just doesn't come out with them.
Well, didn't they disown him or something? Or didn't?
I don't remember them having a fallout at all. But, I mean, technically, if he doesn't go out with them, that doesn't mean that they're still not in the same camp.
That's true. I'd like to see kind of like another Heenan family, another Dangerous Alliance, another whatever manager's got going on. I like the idea of a heel manager and then like a whole bunch of guys that wrestle for him, and it's kind of win-win for the heel manager, because if one guy doesn't win, statistically somebody else on that team is bound to win. So we can talk, I don't know about you, but I can talk blue in the face until I'm blue in the face about Cesaro and Paul Heyman. They had a kick-ass match, him and RVD. I kind of feel like the one guy who's getting the most out of RVD in these matches right now is Cesaro. It's not Barrett. It's not anybody else. It's Cesaro. I mean, do you feel that way?
Yes. Well, Cesaro, I mean, he's an excellent in-ring performer. And then you got Van Dam, who's also an excellent in-ring performer. Put them together, they're going to put a nice clinic, a really nice clinic, with Rob Van Dam's dynamic agility, and then Cesaro with his strength, and then them not being like heavyweights. All the elements for an excellent show. But let me tell you, though, with them two together, that looks like it could be a formidable tag team. But as right
What,
now,
Cesaro
Cesaro,
and RVD?
yes, I can see them two
Yeah,
teaming up.
I can see it.
King of Swing, Mr. Monday Night, Mr. Pay-Per-View. I mean, it could. I mean, it could work. But right now, since they're in the singles, and right now they're putting each other over.
Yeah,
Rob Van Dam is selling everything.
yeah, and I could actually, now that you mention that, I could see the two of them in a tag team. It's weird because he's been in a lot of tag teams, but I'm so used to seeing Rob Van Dam in singles that just the idea of putting him in a tag team never occurs to me. Like, oh yeah, well I guess you could, you know.
ECW, Rob Van Dam and Sabu.
I have I I have a bittersweet thing with Sabu. I and I know the internet's gonna hate me. I kind of think Sabu sucks, and I know that that's probably blasphemy, but I've watched a lot of Sabu matches. Most of them are awful, and I know that that guy can go out there and wrestle, but I don't know whether he's drunk or whether he's high. But his matches are usually awful. Am I wrong?
I want to say yes. I want to say yes to the fifth power. I mean, Sabu, I mean, honestly, some of the stuff that he does is just completely off the wall. You got to think about it this way. He's going to hurt himself to make sure that you're hurt.
Oh, I like him. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like...
I mean, some of his wrestling, per se, is mediocre. But the moves that he does are completely dynamic and off the wall, and that's what drives the crowd wild.
Oh, yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I don't want anybody to misunderstand here. I like Sabu. I think Sabu's cool. I dig the moveset. I don't know. I've seen too many Botchamania videos, and almost all of them have Sabu. Like, it's just a thing. And then there was one that I saw where it was, I think he had just recently cut his hair at the point that they filmed it, or he shaved his head or something. But it was like, the comment was that Bald Sabu is like Samson in reverse, where he like, once he cuts his hair, he's able to actually not fuck up spots.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I like Sabu. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Sabu. I would never want to fight the motherfucker. He would probably hurt me badly, unless there were no tables in sight. But yeah, no, I dig it. Where were we? I know where we were. We were about to talk about the man in black, the architect, the horrible human being, Seth Rollins. I think, well, let me first pose it to you this way. Right now, the Shield is a two-man unit. It's been a three-man unit. Do you think it's worth putting someone in there? And if yes, who would you put into that spot?
Me. As of right now, the Shield is a two-man spot. I'm all about the singles competition. I would not put anybody in that third spot. I mean, Rollins fitted. He was with them, and they were all together. But as of right now, since the betrayal, it's over. They need to just go ahead and cut the Shield down, put them in the singles competition, and let them run for their each individual titles.
You know what? I had this. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
To me, the Shield's done.
Yeah, I can't argue with you. I really feel that way too. But I had this kind of crazy idea. Do you remember when Mick Foley would go out and beg Stone Cold to let him be his tag team partner when he was Dude Love? Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Follow me here, right? You've got Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns hanging out in the back, a la, APA with their own door. By the way, if anybody has not seen APA with the door backstage, go back and watch it. It's some of the best shit ever. Damn! How funny would it be if you had the two of them just constant segments, but not maybe constant, but like once a week segments where like people are trying to get into the Shield, guys like Fandango, guys like um, Santino Marella. Could you imagine Bo Dallas trying to say, "Hey guys, believe in the Shield"? Could you see it? Could you see people just desperately trying to get in to be the Shield? Maybe someone from the three-man band. Maybe they're all secretly trying to be members of the Shield, and they're all telling each other like, "No, I don't want to be a member of the Shield." And they're, oh man, wouldn't it be awesome?
That would be awesome. Having Santino Marella come up with his resume. Look at this. This is my resume. I want to be part of the Shield.
As much as I like that idea, this was spawned off an idea that someone had said on the internet. I don't remember who it was, but they had this idea where take Santino Marella, put him in a suit, and just pretend that he's mini Batista, and he's just trying to get into Evolution. Look, guys, I can be the Batista, and just dress up because he kind of does look like a mini Batista now. He's got the beard, he's got the hair, and he's a pretty badass dude, like judo and sambo and shit. I wouldn't fuck with Santino.
Yeah, I love Santino Marella. He entertaining. He can go. He's got the Cobra.
I love the Cobra. Everybody hates the Cobra. I love it.
I love it
the
too.
Cobra.
The Cobra.
Do you love it when he does the
Power walk?
Yes.
The power walk. He comes power walking straight down the ramp to the ring.
I think we should give Santino a title. I'm saying it first right here. He's already had one, but I love Santino. So we got a sit-down interview with Seth Rollins. He's talking about he's got the Shield. It's his creation. He should be able to destroy it if he wants. I know that you and I have talked about this before, how we would love a kind of booty man, Dungeon of Doom, going undercover. I don't think that's going to happen. Do you?
I don't see it happening, but I would love the double cross.
It would be awesome, but I feel like what's interesting is that I love Seth Rollins, right? But they're able to do something with wrestling now where it's kind of almost going back to the 80s again, where they're sticking to long storylines, which I think just kind of benefits everybody, because stuff that happens and then stops happening, they expect us to forget. But I like the idea of long stories. And here, one of the other things about that is that back then you had very few tweeners, right? Everybody was like a good guy or a bad guy, and there was no question. Seth Rollins, he's a guy who got over not only because he was a member of the Shield, but here's a guy who's just so crazy versatile. He can do all this awesome shit, and you don't want to boo him, but yet he turns his back on the Shield. It's almost like double kayfabe, right? Like they really got us because, yeah, he's a cool heel, we want to cheer him, but like, god damn you turned your back on the Shield. I hope they burn you alive.
I agree. I totally agree. But that double cross would be bittersweet. And it would actually add on to that storyline arc.
Yeah, because then from there it's like, how do we really know we can still trust him? How do we know he's not double crossing us?
Unless the Shield were all into it at the same time.
It's true. And I could see them doing that, so I kind of like it because we get to speculate and kind of figure out where it's going on right now. I dig it, though. It is a sad day when we know that John Cena comes to the aid of the Shield. Papo, how do we feel about that?
I'm going to start it off with this. Is the enemy of my enemy my friend?
No.
Or my enemy?
I'm going to say that the enemy of my enemy is also my enemy. That's my opinion. I don't think that the enemy of my enemy is necessarily my friend. I mean, I could see it, but I like John Cena. I actually, oddly enough, don't have a problem with him.
I mean, I watched John Cena back when he was doing Independence. They had a reality movie about a whole thing about wrestlers in Vegas doing Independence, and I will give it up to.
Remember that.
I'll give it up to Cena. He's paid his dues. I mean, and now, I mean, he's the franchise. He's the Fruity Pebbles of the WWE.
It's okay. He's a Fruit Loop too.
But as right now, he's the franchise, and Vince McMahon is just shoving them down our throats.
I agree with you. But I actually don't mind him in the spot, right? Because he's kind of filling this weird Hulk Hogan spot. I mean, nobody wants to compare him to Hogan, but really that's your main comparison, right?
The franchise.
So, yeah, he's not to be confused with Shane Douglas.
Not
real
to be
franchise.
They're not to be confused, but you know the meaning of the word.
Yeah.
Right now, he's a franchise of the WWE, and he's a mediocre in-ring performer. I mean, I've seen him mess up spots. I've seen him not at 100%, but he can still go.
Oh yeah, he's good. I like the role he plays because he's generic good guy number one, and you can essentially plug him into any storyline without having to kind of retrofit or change the circumstances of the story. You could just, hey, John Cena showed up, like whatever, and in my mind, it's totally acceptable. Do I like that he's there? Whatever. I don't really have any hate for Cena anymore, just because he's not going away, and much to my chagrin, and I'm sure yours and anybody out there that's watching right now, is that we'll never get a John Cena heel turn. Not happening. Which I know we all want it, but you can't always get what you want. How would you book a John Cena heel turn?
That's a hard one. I mean, he's got the whole say your prayers, take your vitamins thing down pat.
Hey, brother.
For real. And also, he's backing up the armed forces, assisting them with shows, and working close with kids. I mean, the kids love him big time, and he's got this whole thug thing kicking, which is appealing to some of the white thugs out there, per se. But let me tell you, though, right now, with him being the franchise, there's no way we can actually turn him to a heel, even if he wanted to become a heel. People would, I mean, we would have to change the character completely to come into an anti-hero and then go into a heel.
See, I'm going to disagree with you on this, right? And I set you up. I did, because I already had an idea of what to do with John Cena. We're going to have to get in our time machine, get the flux capacitor running, hop on the DeLorean. Let's go to 88 miles per hour, 1.21 gigawatts. Here's what we do.
1.21 gigawatts?
Go back to Once in a Lifetime Part 2, right? It's an easy fix. The first time was at WrestleMania, whatever number it was, doesn't matter. He wrestles The Rock and loses in one of the worst wrestling matches of all time. I don't know what the hell Rocky's been doing when he goes to WrestleMania. It's just bad. I'm gonna kick out of your move. I'm gonna kick out of your move. We'll reverse our move, reverse the move, reverse in 5 minutes, and that is too much, right? It works here and there, but it just ended up being the only redeeming spot of that second match. Was you remember how the first match Cena lost because he was gonna do the 5-knuckle shuffle because he was overconfident and The Rock jumped up and gave him the rock bottom. You remember that?
Yes, I do.
The only good thing about Once in a Lifetime Part 2 is they went to do that same spot and Cena hung on to the ropes like he knew The Rock was going to pop up. That was awesome. But that was the only redeemable thing about that match. So let's go back. Cena cuts these promos leading up to their rematch. He says, I lost to The Rock. I've had the worst year of my career, which was just fucking stupid because he hasn't. I don't think John Cena's had a bad year in almost 12 years now. So he has to lose clean. In my scenario, John Cena loses to The Rock the first time around, spends that whole year trying to get to that spot, trying to redeem himself, finally wins the Rumble. He's got the match. Then they go balls to the wall, toe-to-toe. At the end of the day, John Cena still can't beat The Rock. That's your heel turn right there. Then he comes out the next night on Raw, and he basically cuts the promo and says, like, look, I hustled. I had hustled. I hustled. I hustled. I had loyalty. And I had respect, but you know what? I'm sick of this shit. You people come out here and you say Cena sucks, 5 moves of doom, whatever. I did everything I could to get to that spot. I wrestled The Rock and I still lost. To me, that would have been a perfect situation where you could have had not in the sense of, 'cause I'm always going to compare Cena to Hogan. So not in the sense of Hogan's turn where he had to align himself with real heels and drop the leg on Macho Man, which I wish we could go back to the days where people would have had the balls to throw garbage into the ring, like WWE and shit. I miss that. I really do. But I think you could do a huge. In my plan, though, the only problem is that Cena's such a huge star, right? Despite what people may want or want not to say about him, he's such a big star that if you're going to turn him, I like the idea of the double turn, right? So kind of like Austin Bret Hart, WrestleMania 13, there goes the double turn. Austin goes into the match as a bad guy, Hart goes in as a good guy. They both do the double switch. You could do that, and I would have done that with, had he not left, I would have done that with Punk, right? Have Punk swing Punk into that spot. Just have him being like, you know what, man, I'm a good guy. I don't do drugs. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I just wrestle. Hey, kids, stay in school, whatever. And then you could have had that because you're going to have a guy who's just as good, if not better than Cena, to replace him in that spot. Because if you look at a Raw crowd, what is it, like 80% of everybody's wearing a Cena shirt, right? I mean, it's kind of ridiculous how over that guy is. But I think you could do a heel John Cena, and even if, because my idea was to only do it for about a year, just long enough to give the people who want to be fans of him enough to like him, and that way you can still keep it short enough where you can turn him back, bring him back to be a good guy again, and then we can just never revisit. Kind of like what they did with Biker Taker, how they did Biker Taker, and then after a while they were like, we don't like Biker Taker, and we'll pretend like that never happened, and then reinvent the character. I thought that would be a wise move for Cena, but you're right, they'll never turn Cena. It's a damn shame, though. I mean, for obvious reasons, but it would be a lot of fun. We got to talk about Goldust's partner next week. Who do you think is going to be the partner? And if you could choose, who would you pick to be his partner?
Good question. I mean, I see. We talked about this last week where Cody's setting him up with different partners to go. We've seen Sin Cara. That was a fail.
Sin Cara's a fail.
Touche. I mean, what I see building up right now is going to be the return of the Rhodes brothers. I see that slowly happening. I see that they're going to go to the storyline. He's going to have a bunch of generic tag team partners, and then eventually Cody's going to step in and be like, look, I got your back. Let's go for the gold. But if I can choose a partner for Goldust, I'll say Funkasaurus, baby.
Really? The
Funkasaurus.
Somebody better call his mama.
Somebody better call my mama.
When I think about that, right, I kind of get this weird feeling, only because I see him so much on the pre-shows, especially on the pay-per-views and things like that. I kind of have this weird feeling that they're going to trot out Booker T next week. I call me crazy. I just have this weird feeling that Booker T is going to come out and we're going to get Bookdust. I would.
They were tag team partners before.
That's true.
And they had a nice run for a while.
And they did.
But I don't know. I don't think Booker T's going to come out of retirement, especially right now. He's doing payback. Playback on WWE Network.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to see it. Plus, I don't know if you've noticed, anybody who goes into the Hall of Fame, they're pretty much done having matches in the WWE, right?
Not necessarily.
I mean, I can't think of anybody off the top of my head, though, that's gone in and still had a match after going in on WWE. Not counting independents, not counting other promotions, just specifically WWE.
I can't really think of anybody right now. I mean, Shawn Michaels did the guest referee. Well, that was about it, but he didn't wrestle.
Right, he didn't wrestle. So
that's about it right now.
Here's who I would pick. I would pick Cody, but I hope this is what they're doing, because this is what I kind of got the vibe from the interview. I want to see Gold Dust Cody Rhodes. I want to see Cody take some sort of weird interpretation of Gold Dust and make it his own. Just Cody Dust, whatever. I don't know. I think it would be awesome.
That would be awesome. Have them coming out all face painted up in a long gown like they did back in the AWA, with bedazzled robed.
Oh yeah, I kind of have this vision in my mind of just like have him be in like Kiss makeup. You know, like Gene Simmons almost, but not quite, to where it's kind of ridiculous, but you're still kind of willing to accept it anyway, because you're like, fuck it. Because I don't know about you, but Cody Rhodes, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated guys they have. He can go, he can have a good match, he's extremely athletic, plus he looks damn good in a mustache.
Stop with the mustache, man. Stop with the mustache. Let that go.
I won't let it go.
Let it go.
Look, Cody Rhodes and the mustache, I almost feel like now, if he turns heel, he has to grow the mustache back. Kind of like Clark Kent takes off his glasses, he's now magically Superman. Cody gets a mustache, now he's a heel. I love Cody and the mustache. I mean, and that's not me being a hipster. I can't grow a mustache. It's blonde. So people who can go really good mustaches, I get jealous of, and I vicariously live through their lip hair. And I think, and not only that, Cody has a classy mustache, like Clark Gable Gone with the Wind type shit. Which, yeah, mustache. That's all I have to say about that. We ended the show with John Cena and the Shield versus the Wyatts. The Shield wins with a spear to Luke Harper. I gotta say this, only because we talked about this last week. We see it again. This stupid fucking dancing John Cena spot. Your thoughts?
Dancing John Cena?
Yeah, when Bray does the thing where he it's like he has him so beat up that he can do whatever he wants with him. And he does this dance, that stupid shit. Gotta go.
Yeah, but it's something to get the crowd going, and the crowd loves it. My thing is, when he goes to the corner and does the back bend, you see all his hair go down, but the beard stays up.
That's a good quality beard right there. Yeah, I think Bray Wyatt. Jesus. Yeah, I think Bray Wyatt's awesome. I love the whole Wyatt family, their whole dynamic.
Minus Sheep Boy.
I feel like he's the third guy because there needs to be a third guy, and like that's him. I hope that he gets noticed doing something else. Like I hope that he doesn't fade off into oblivion like I know he's going to. But overall, what were your thoughts about Raw this week? Anything else that we didn't talk about that you wanted to mention?
No, I really enjoyed that Cena came in and backed up the Shield, and that goes back to my statement: is the enemy my enemy, my friend, or my enemy? So it actually fit that where Cena came in and backed up the Shield against the Wyatts. And they put on a nasty clinic all over the ring, and then we got to see the torture rack / reverse diamond cutter.
I don't know what the hell that thing is, but it is cool.
It does look cool. It is really cool. But then I'm right now. I'm seeing it. I seen the split of what's left of the Shield. Yeah,
it's sad. I think it should have gone on. We should have got more time with the Shield. But yeah, I mean, when you think about it, once they got Evolution into clean sweep, who's left? Which I'll say right here and right now that they could have had one run with 3MB. I would have been okay with it. I would have given them my money. I would have loved it. don't hinder gender. Okay, don't hinder gender. I'm just kind of sifting through my notes here to see if there's anything left we have to talk about. Oh, do we think? And I guess this is the last point I wanted to make. What's going on with Cena joining in with the Shield, right? So it's just one Raw, so that doesn't mean there's going to be an extended program. But because it's featuring the Wyatts, have we seen the last of John Cena versus Bray Wyatt? And if not, should we?
We're not going to see the last. That feud's going to go on again, right? Especially with Homeboy being reborn, per se. I think it's going to take it to the next level with the storyline. Definitely, especially against Cena. I see some backstage incidents happening in our near future with Cena and the Wyatts.
Yeah, I'd like to see the feud go on longer too, especially since the story is there that, oh, well, John Cena is trying to contain the monster, the beast inside of him, while Bray Wyatt's trying to coax it out. If that's the story, I think we should actually get to see that, because we didn't really, the way it's portrayed, we didn't get to see that. We just saw John Cena that wanted to kick somebody's ass, not a John Cena that just wanted to destroy someone. You know, that's what I want to see, because if at the end of the day, anything that adds depth to the John Cena character, in my mind, is a good thing, and there's nothing wrong that can come from that. But yeah, I'd like to see the feud continue. I mean, again, it's cool because Bray Wyatt's not about wins and losses, but it's not cool in the sense that if that wasn't the end of the feud, I don't think Wyatt should have won. Papo, is there anything else you wanted to talk about this week?
Nothing more. I mean, we've covered everything. I enjoyed Raw this weekend, or this Monday, and I look forward to SmackDown. I'm actually wanting to keep a close eye on that tournament that they got going on right now for the heavyweight belt. So.
Well, I think it's like a series of qualifying matches. I think it's just going to be a Money in the Bank match with 6 guys, and then I could have swore I had the other guy's name down here. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. I think Money in the Bank's going to be awesome. Oh, that's what I wanted to ask you. Do you think that Kane should continue feuding with Daniel Bryan upon Daniel Bryan's return, or should we find someone else to put in that spot?
They're going to have to find somebody else to put in that spot, because anything with Kane ends up fizzling after just 2 matches. Especially him being all corporate out now. He's boring me to death.
So then here's a question. Do you think we could return to the Daniel Bryan-Wyatt family feud?
We can return to that, but I believe that storyline has already fizzled. But it also could add to that, especially with John Cena still feuding with them and him being reborn. Who's to say that the Wyatts are not going to go ahead and start a feuding with everybody they've already feuded with? It would just add more depth to that reborn status that he has.
Good point. And actually, there was one thing that I wanted to bring up. Something I saw on the WWE website earlier that I wanted to share. They have a poll going on right now. It says, what past legend would you like to see come back for one more match? They've got a few names here, so what I want to do is I just want to go over who's on this one and find out who your pick would be, and then I'll give my pick, and then we'll just kind of leave it there. So they have Scott Steiner, Michelle McCool, Steve Blackman, Shane McMahon, Goldberg, Trish Stratus, Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold, Kurt Angle, Hulk Hogan, Mr. McMahon, the Hardy Boys, Papa Shango, JBL, or The Undertaker.
Out of that list, I'd pick The Undertaker.
Really? That's the one?
I've always been an Undertaker fan.
I'm a huge Undertaker fan. I kind of didn't acknowledge him being on the list. Like, I saw that was listed there, but I'm like, Undertaker's not gone until I hear that he's officially gone. I'll tell you who I picked. Because it's true. It's damn true. I picked Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle.
God, if you can hear me, I'll take back all those things I've said about you. If you could bring us Kurt Angle, please, please, Jesus, Kurt Angle. Would you like to see Kurt Angle have one more run?
I'd love to see Kurt Angle go another run. He was an excellent in-ring performer. I mean, Olympic gold champion, number titles. He can go. But right now, I believe TNA is holding him back.
Yeah. Because we're not going to get to see intensity, integrity, and intelligence in TNA. It's just not going to happen. I'm a huge Kurt Angle fan. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, I enjoyed it. I know Papo enjoyed it. We all enjoyed it. Like, subscribe, comment, tell us how much you like us. And if you don't like us, that's okay. You can lie to us. We'll deal with it. Anything you got to say in closing, Papo?
Watch NXT, because Al will be.
There you have it. You can't go home. You can go home, but you can't stay here. Whatever. Keep both feet on the wheels and drive safe. Good night, everybody.
Peace.